Hello, everyone, and welcome back to ExQueerience Points Starfinder, your favorite all-queer-cast Starfinder podcast, I hope. As always, please take the time to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes or wherever you consume your podcasts. We work really hard on the show and want as many people as possible to share it with. We hope you are as excited and will recommend us to your friends, community, and everyone. It would be wonderful. If you didn't make it to Outsider Comics and Geek Boutique in Seattle last week on Friday to meet at Wright Jesser and at Cormelon, we've got pictures up at EQ Points for you to bask in. My half-elf sorcerer was quite fun, and I wish the campaign was recurring because I could play Lester all day. Plus, there were all the cool folks I got to meet, and it was a pretty fun story arc. Well done, Jess. Well done. This episode of ExQueerience Points, we meet the priests of the Temple of the First Ones and have a brief history lesson from Eos. Mordax and Angus talk it out, and finally, Absco learns about feelings. Welcome to episode 30, Fuegos, Inferno.
Greetings, adventure hookers, and welcome back to ExQueerience Points, your favorite queer Starfinder real play podcast. I am your host and GM, Miyu, and joining me today, as always, is our ever so fabulous cast.
Hello, I'm Kelric. I play Angus.
Hi, I'm Britt, and I play Mordax, and sometimes Silverblade.
I'm Kenny, and I play Absco Cash.
I'm Steph, and I play Eos Nabari.
And I believe that our resident tech genius, Mordax, has a recap for us.
Mordax's Personal Report, Volume 2. I'm safely back in my quarters after a really scary experience on the burning Ark of Pelagio, where I almost lost Silverblade. After the explosion outside of the fire consulate place, we've rushed into trying to infiltrate the headquarters of the Preservationist Front so that we could calm the situation enough to access the Temple of the First Ones, and it was a little more complicated and well-guarded than we realized, and we only narrowly escaped only to be arrested for suspected involvement with the attack. I luckily had my bot-fighting streaming camera turned on, so we had enough evidence to get free, but I don't think the preservationists are actually going to get in trouble. I think they have more political sway than we realized. I can never go back to Chroma as well, which means that my fighting bot aspirations really are over. I guess this Starfinder thing really is my life now. Well, on to the next part of the mission, I suppose. Mordax out.
Oh.
Aww.
Ow.
That was sad. All right, so we last left off with you standing in the Brass Bazaar with a dark hooded figure and Fuego. I believe, Eos, you have around your wrist a new bracelet of Sarenrae, yes?
Yes.
A flashback just a few minutes ago as they leave the ASS Roseate.
I love the
name. You picked it.
And I love it.
Okay.
The two are directly correlated.
Captain, with your permission, I would like to stop at the Temple of Sarenrae on our way back to the ship. I suppose if anyone would like to join me, they're welcome to pay their respects, given what's happened in the last 24 hours.
Mordax's eyes just get real wide. I think that's not really my sort of place, but you should go.
That's fine. I'm tired, but I don't want to split up, so if you're going, we're all gonna go, and just take your time. And I give Mordax a very significant look of just hold it together. I am not splitting us up again.
Mordax looks a little sheepish.
With all due respect, I'm going to keep my weapon close. Not that you would become a fanatic, but I don't know.
On edge.
Yeah.
It's smart. We don't know who all the fanatics are. We haven't had time to go through everything, so let's just get this done. I understand that it's important to you, but let's get moving.
Well, I don't understand why it's important to you. You gave up your symbol very freely.
It's just a bracelet.
Sure.
And I understand that to many people, it is an important religious symbol that they need for their worship or as a part of to signify who they are. I never had that, and it was a gift from a friend that I just kind of kept on me, and replacing it is just continuing to show that I'm not going to let these fanatics change the goddess that I have a connection to. Yes, I gave it up easily because sometimes to survive, it's not about what's on you. It's about getting through this situation. It doesn't change my devotion.
That's fair, but, in the future, so you're aware, we all have weapons, and we will defend you no matter what your choice is on how you present yourself and who you worship. If that's who you want to be and you want to present it outwardly, we're here. We were all in it together there anyway.
And I think if we've proven anything, it's that we just don't leave someone behind. So if you feel the need to express yourself with this religious belief, then you do so. And you can count on us. Another side eye at Mordax.
Ooh.
All the side-eyeing.
Mordax continues to look sheepish.
Angus handled it well in the moment, but Angus has had a lot of time to ruminate on being yelled at like that in a situation where they were
Real
fighting.
good use of ruminate there.
Someone's breaking out the SAT words.
About how very much they were fighting to make sure Mordax got Silverblade back because they recognized it was important, and then still getting their ass chewed out about it. It was like, there will be words later about emotional displays and attacking your crewmates in times when it's not appropriate. At any rate.
Anyway.
Eos?
I appreciate that. I saw we were already in a bad situation, and given where we were and what was around us, I didn't want to make it worse. I made the choice that I thought was best for the team, and I will bear in mind that perhaps I need not do that next time.
Well, this may all be, sounding hypocritical coming from me, the person who can disappear at a moment's notice. I don't know. I suppose it's important for me to know that you know that we're here for you.
I appreciate that. I've been on my own for a while now. It's a little different not having people have your back because they're ordered to, because they choose to. It's a little new for me, especially for, no offense, for people who aren't in my pack.
I can understand that.
All right, so you get to the Radiant Cathedral. This central spire in Dawnshore has strange symbols inscribed in the metal and inlaid in the sun-bright glass of the spire. Indecipherable symbols. There are many, many priests of Sarenrae that walk through the cathedral. It's huge and just absolutely gorgeous. As you step inside, you feel as though you really feel, even more so than out in the plasma bubble, you feel that you are completely surrounded by the sun. So you're able to spend some time here if you would like. Get a new focus, a new holy symbol focus.
Absco is
anything in particular that y'all wanted to do?
Absco is visibly uncomfortable. Like they're searching everywhere for like a place to kind of try to blend in, and I believe probably failing.
Out of kindness for everyone's discomfort, Eos isn't going to spend too long getting a new bracelet. She will pay her respects, perhaps light a few candles for those who weren't so lucky to make it out of the blast, and say a few words before rejoining you all.
I have this image of Eos just casually just grabbing one off of, like, they have a tray of, oh yeah, some of our plastic bead stuff. Go ahead and take them. And she's just like, oh, this'll do. The rest of us are like, okay.
She goes to the gift shop.
It's not the outward expression, I guess. This is just a thing. Cool.
Yeah. No, that's very much what she would do.
Okay.
She just gets like the equivalent of like a $5 plastic bead rosary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, been blessed by the local priest.
While we're there, can I do a perception check to see if anyone kind of is watching us or looks uncomfortable at our presence?
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Can I do the same? Because
that's an 11.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes. Yeah, the 11 for Absco. You're so uncomfortable yourself. Like you're doing that kind of look around like, what? What do you want? What are you looking at?
Yeah.
Would I roll a sense motive, you think? Or just perception?
You can roll a sense motive. I'll give you that.
No, I sense nothing. I am too pissed off by what happened.
Also an 11 with Eos, you are busy praying, and you see the crowds around you of the people who are there holding a vigil for the victims of the Brass Bazaar.
My perception was a 17, just because I'm looking out for my crew, making sure that we're safe, or as safe as I can keep us.
Angus, you see, you're paying a little closer attention. You can see that y'all are probably the only armed people in here, aside from the security at the front door, who kind of looked askance at you. But you've got a couple of priests that seem to be just standing there watching you, making sure you don't cause any trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, you don't see anyone else watching you.
I wouldn't even see a point in mentioning that, because I would assume everyone in our group is aware enough to know a spectacle. Because we're always a spectacle. And I have on my new armor. I have on my new, command pinks. So people are definitely going to be noticing.
Oh, yes. You head from the Radiant Cathedral back through to the Brass Bazaar. We cut back to where we were with Eos, kind of running her fingers over her new bracelet in front of Fuego and this hooded figure. And Fuego tells you, this is one of the priests at the Temple of the First Ones. And the being in the dark cloak bows to you quietly, not a sound.
I would like to do a culture check to see if I know anything about the proper responses.
Okay.
So it's a 19.
A 19, any sign of respect will do.
Okay. So
however you wish to do that.
I would probably, do a half bow to them in return and try to say, what would it be? Something like, we are honored by your assistance, and say it in Ignan, since I know that language now.
Show
so
off.
Having picked up Ignan on your time here on the sun,
I'm quite good
your
with
whole
languages.
24 hours.
What's the,
Angus just has an ear for languages.
I was going to say, what's the Absalom Station or the Pact World's equivalent of Rosetta Stone?
So I guess it's sort of like, thank you, crackle, crickle, crack, crack, fire pop. I mean, they're fire elementals. Who knows?
Absco, as Angus is saying his respects and everything, is going to sense motive on like the response and everything.
Okay.
15.
With a 15, the dark, shadowy figure whose features you cannot see looks like a dark, shadowy figure, which makes you immediately uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna lie, I'm resisting the urge to use psychokinetic hand but that would be disrespectful because priest.
We had a plan going into our previous thing, into the previous fight, and Absco and Eos threw that plan out the window. You were like, we sense motive and think something's off, so we're attacking. And then Mordax and Angus were like, well, they're attacking, so I guess we have to join this party because our plan is dead. So if you feel like doing that again, feel free. It was fun.
The level of sarcasm.
So Absco would approach this person a little bit, get in a little bit closer than I guess Angus is, but not like invade this person's space, and just kind of be like, so you're very cloaked and very shadowy. I respect that. I also kind of want to learn from you.
The hood bobs once.
This is a skill that I think on the sun would be invaluable.
Being reaches up and pulls back its hood, and you see, standing there before you, a mechanical being.
Oh,
Mordax,
I was not expecting this.
I was not either.
Something along those lines. Does
Mordax's
anybody
eyes.
here speak any form of like binary?
I thought about it, and I did not take it.
Right?
Britt?
So
I took Vesk because I like Vesk soap operas.
All right. Let's see if
Valid
any
choice.
of these will help. I speak Celestial, Common, Eoxian, Ignan, Infernal, Kasathan,
Wait.
Vesite, Vesk, Vlaka, and Isoki.
Britt,
Wait, you
your
take Vesk now? Wow, okay.
Yeah, after
Britt,
seeing how
your
helpful it was, I
special-
learned it.
I have share language, which would allow a target to read, understand, and communicate to the best of its abilities in up to 3 languages you already know. So if it seems
but
to
you have to know them. Oh,
Okay.
to get it to speak to you. Well,
If
what
it
actually
can.
happens, Britt, your special custom rig begins crackling. There is a shortwave radio band coming in.
Oh, Mordax will look down. But also, as a note, actually, I didn't take as many languages as I could have because I could have taken 2 more and I hadn't actually finished that part. So if you guys narratively would prefer that I have learned binary, I would be fine with that because the intelligence bonus would have allowed me way more languages than I chose.
That's up to you.
Yeah.
Rex is your character. But
Mordax speaks binary. How about that?
I feel like it makes way more sense.
Yes. The creature begins communicating in a series of beeps, which you quickly pick up to be a sort of binary code. You're able to quickly begin translating as this being that refers to itself simply as this one tells you that there are some records that he understands that you have been looking for a particular entity known as 18 as well as a particular entity known as Eve.
as soon as, well, I don't understand what they're saying. I'm assuming only Mordax does. What do you do, Mordax?
Mordax would respectfully give some pleasantries and then turn to Angus. Captain, permission to translate for everyone, sir.
Mordax, that's fine, but let's try to keep this quiet.
All right. Should I ask that we move inside and not on the street?
That would make me much more comfortable. If we're talking about something sensitive, which is why we're here, I'd prefer to be private.
Emphatically are, and I don't want to say it out loud in the street.
Please do then.
All right, I'll turn back to Fuego and his friend and ask in binary. Actually, what I probably would do is have Silverblade, because Silverblade's probably better at making the beeps.
Mm-hmm.
Ask the construct if we could move somewhere private to discuss those matters.
As Silverblade begins beeping at it, it seems to this entity seems to perk up as it turns to Silverblade and bows very deeply to him, and then begins beeping at Silverblade and gestures Silverblade toward the temple of the first ones.
All right, I'll turn to everyone else, and I think we can go.
And then he begins beeping at Silverblade. It seems
cool.
that he doesn't. He's not sure that he wants all of you going in there. You know, Silverblade understands, for he is a machine like him.
Well, I'm not comfortable with that.
Mordax just freezes because this is the second time in so many days that something has suggested that she separate herself from Silverblade. I'll ask if some of us can go.
Looks at you and goes, as long, and then it turns back to Silverblade and it tells him, as long as you can vouch for your fleshy companions.
I'll have Silverblade vouch for the fleshy companions.
Roll to vouch for the fleshy companions.
He will allow he graciously welcomes Silverblade and his crew to the Temple of the First Ones.
Does Fuego come with us?
Fuego just kind of slinks off.
Oh. I can see
He's made the introduction.
comfortable with us at this point because
Yeah.
basically almost get them fired.
Yeah, Fuego's in some trouble.
Fired.
I feel like Mordax might sort of be smart enough to ask Silverblade to sort of explain a little bit more why Silverblade would vouch for the fleshy companions. And then I feel like Silverblade would enthusiastically tell this construct all about how the fleshy companions got him out of this jail situation and just like hyperactively tell the story. Because Silverblade doesn't get to be hyperactive all that often to things that can understand him very well. So
Nice.
yeah, I think the Silverblade is very excited.
The Anasite listens to Silverblade's story as he brings him in and seems to be enthusiastically responding and hearing. After the story has been told and everyone is seated, you enter into the Temple of the First Ones, and it's just this little spire, and it is lined with discs and data pads and all kinds of electronic media. Several mechanical-looking boxes and doodads and knickknacks sit around.
Mordax is just, wow, looking around.
As you are taken into a small side room.
I was just going to say Angus, too, because when all this started, his only aspiration was to be the engineer on a ship and a mechanic. So all of these doodads and things are like, oh. And, there's a little nostalgia because I see all that stuff and I just I remember Phaedra and how much fun we had making maze cores together. And so it just reminds me of some of my old crew and stuff. And there's a little moment there, which is kind of nice.
The priest entity is waving his appendages around, explaining that some of these are sacred relics from the heart of Abalon. Many of these came from cities of the first ones on Abalon.
Does anyone know about the first ones on Abalon? I have zero clue. Is that something I should do a culture check to see if I know anything, if Angus would know about?
Yeah, culture would be fine. If you want to see if you know anything about the stories of the first ones and Abalon.
What about you? What were you saying,
Everybody's rolling. I was going to suggest I was going to say history, but then I'm like, wait, wrong system. So definitely everybody's rolling culture. 25.
Nice. Beats my 15.
I don't even need to roll.
Everyone else, you know that. All right, so everyone knows that Abalon is a rocky, metallic world, the closest one into the sun in the Pact world, and you also know that the local species are mechanical machines. Anacytes. Eos, though, you know that there are a number of ruins that predate the Anacytes, and that they belonged to whatever race originally created the Anacytes. You know that this race of beings has disappeared and are sometimes known as the First Ones. You also happen to know that the Temple of the First Ones is dedicated to... So the Anacytes have come to believe that the spheres of the archipelago could only have been built by beings as powerful as the First Ones, the ones that created them. And so they think that this is obviously their technology and obviously their work, and that they must have created it for a reason. And so they have a temple here dedicated to studying the spheres, to determine what that purpose may be and how they may further it. You also know that these creatures created the deity Epoch, who joined with two other artificial intelligences to become Triune. So they, in a way, gave birth to Triune.
Okay.
That's interesting.
And they also have forges that build the majority of drift engines. The Church of Triune is based on Abalon. But there are ancient cities left behind from the progenitors or the first ones.
Okay. And Eos would quietly, as not to interrupt the priest, kind of fill in the crew as best she can on all that information. I'm not going to waste airtime repeating Miu's awesome explanation.
When the priest is done talking and after we get filled in by Eos, Absco kind of leans into the group, probably kind of just in front of the priest, and says, the more information on Triune we have, the better we'll probably understand our mission. And they kind of like wink when they say mission. Like,
I thought stealth was your forte.
I don't
we're
think
indoors.
charisma is.
Charisma is not my forte. Charisma is almost my dump stat.
I think now that it seems like we are probably in a safer spot, that Mordax will actually relay the information about
18?
Yes, thank you.
And Eve?
Relay the information about 18 and Eve that the construct had given me out in the street.
Okay. Our time on the archipelago is now limited based on our experience in Chroma. So if we can get to that information, get it, and then leave as quickly as possible, no disrespect, but that would probably be for the best for all of us.
Okay.
It pops out an old school floppy disk and hands it to you.
I'm assuming they hand it to Silverblades. And
to Silverblade, duh, yeah. The priest entity is explaining to Silverblade that this is a summary of all of the information they were able to find here in their temple, and relays a set of coordinates on Abalon along with that, and tells him that you'll need those when you're done reading this.
So this is how I imagine this is going. They're talking to each other, and Mordax is sort of slightly off to the side and repeating things softly at you three.
Nice.
Politely.
Pretty much, Lee.
All right. If there's nothing else, then...
I do have one question. The entity known as 18, all of our information points to her being extremely old, almost predating the gap. Could she have been made by the first ones?
Mordax gets a little wide-eyed and then nods to Silverblade to ask that question.
The response you get back through your translation matrix is that this is an interesting hypothesis.
Okay.
Mordax looks back. This is an interesting hypothesis.
I think we have what we need here. Mordax, I would like for you to have Silverblade pass on all the information we got from the extremist so that the Temple of the First Ones can be protected or know if they have anyone inside here who would wish them harm. Because I think tit for tat as far as information is fair. And then we should go.
Makes a lot of sense. So Mordax will suggest to Silverblade to offer up if they want a copy of the video feed that we had captured and the information that we got, and to offer our extreme gratitude for being allowed to enter this sacred space.
Silverblade relays all of that, and the priest entity thanks you for coming and explains that they aren't particularly concerned about these preservationist frontists, but, any information is good information. It is better than no information. And so they will gladly accept your information.
All right, so
as an offering to the Church of the Temple of the First Ones.
They'll fiddle with sending some of that information over.
Excellent.
Bing, bang, boom. We're out of the temple.
Yep.
Ding, ding, ding. And you head back through the Brass Bazaar. You can see the section closed down. Things seem to be already kind of returning back to normal, though, as shops are beginning to open up.
I feel like Silverblade might even turn back and look at the temple like, that was a nice place. And then turn back around. Silverblade, not Mordax.
Yeah, I think Silverblade just really enjoyed that temple.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Are we gonna walk and talk back to the ship? Is that the thought?
Whatever works.
If you have talking, you are a walking.
All right, I have a small talking. I'm going to gesture to Silverblade to sort of scooch up in the walking order to just make a little bit of space so that I can pull Eos just slightly to the back a little bit so that Angus and Absco are leading the way. Silverblade's making a space buffer, and Mordax is gonna lean up and sort of whisper to Eos, hey, so I get it, the bracelet thing. I get it. I don't think it's weird. I think it makes sense. And before you can respond, she shoots back up to meet up with Angus and Absco.
Leaving the medic behind.
I feel like that's that moment where it's like you look deep into someone's eyes and go, I don't want things to be weird between us. Beautiful. I love it.
With joy.
So while Mordax ducks back, Absco kind of sidles up to Angus and is like, "So that robot had a nice robe, some good style."
It was a little plain for me, but I'm glad that you liked it. I prefer a little more flash.
Ah!
Oh, we're just full of puns today.
Yes.
Unintentional.
And then because that conversation took approximately 2 seconds, suddenly Mordax is just right there beside me.
Just in time for the word flash.
Yeah.
And so you have walkie-talkied your way back to your ship.
If we get back to the ship, how long will it take us to go through this data? And how do we want to handle the data dump as far as getting the information to our characters?
It is a floppy disk. Therefore, it will take all of about 20 seconds.
Great.
A simple passage from a story that happens to mention Eve and 18 and the city known as Timeless on Avalon.
Okay. What about them?
Just mentions that they were there.
At the same time?
That's the implication. Very weird, obscure bit of text, like from a book. It was like Timeless, where 18 and Eve appeared.
And then there was 18, and behold.
I just had the mental image of they pop into Angus's ready room and Mordax pops it into the computer, and in the time it just takes everybody to kind of assemble. That's just on the screen, and that's all we have.
Yep.
And the coordinates.
Yep.
It's just little stick figures. It's the little planet and then doot, 18, doot.
It's pictographs.
Gone. That's it.
Yeah, it's like doot 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 dragon, doot 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 robot fight.
Complete with 8-bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Doot 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 bong bong bong.
The highest fidelity MIDI sounds you can muster.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, with all that, now we have this information. We look at it and I'm just like, Angus is just like, well, this doesn't really seem like it was worth everything we went through to get it, does it?
Well, it gives us a location. I suppose that our next stop is Avalon.
True, but I mean, if this is all there was, why could Fuego not just say, here it is.
Perhaps Fuego couldn't get access into the temple to get the information.
And I don't blame Fuego for not wanting to be involved anymore.
Oh, I know, but if they had just given us the information from the start, they'd have just been like, oh, George says you need this information. I have the information. Here's a floppy disk. Go home. All could have been avoided.
It does seem a little excessive to go through all that rigmarole for a line of picture text.
Nobody plans for extremist attacks. It could have been that easy.
I suppose my issue here is I feel like we've been led around by our noses long enough. And so when things like this happen, I think we need to look a little deeper. So the possibility is that it could have been that easy and 18 may have arranged for the attack to make this harder, which, we need to be on our guard, making sure that we limit how much we talk about them and just be aware that they may be completely cognizant of what's going on. And so...
Oh,
Hold
there's
on.
circuit.
How could 18 have organized that attack? Steph, remembering Eos was not there for that part of the conversation.
That's fair.
Oh.
Their circuit-filled fingerprints are all over this, in my opinion.
As I recall,
That's
there
sort of-
was actually something in the data we pulled that mentions 18, doesn't it?
You
Yeah.
found that the encryption reminded you very strongly of the same encryption that was on the data dump you took from Gideon,
Okay, right.
which according to the Starfinder dossier, was arranged by Teen.
Right.
So all of this is a little bit, I understand that you all have been doing this sort of spy cloak and dagger sort of thing a lot longer than I have, because I have not been doing it at all. So I guess I want to be a little bit more filled in on exactly how much you think that these folk know about. So we're supposed to not let on to them, even though you know that they're spying on us, that we're part of the Starfinders, even though I kind of feel like it'll be really, really obvious with the very expensive ship. I know we've already talked about that, but I guess I just don't know how much we're supposed to be pretending that we don't know that they know, that we might know about how much they know.
Absco kind of looks very like they understand your struggle with it, and they're like, all I've been trying to do is minimize the amount of exposure we have towards Solomon. However, I've already kind of given up. I'm only to E on our roster list as far as investigations are concerned, and that leaves about 75 more people to go through. There's so many avenues for Solomon to get in on what we're doing anyway. I think that my best idea here is just to move forward with as much purpose as possible so that they can't guess what we're doing.
So we don't have to keep pretending that we aren't aware that they're part of the whole thing, so that in case they're watching us, they don't think that we've already found out.
There's no doubt in my mind that they know that we know.
Okay, good, because it was all very confusing. But if you need help going through, F through Z, we could help you do with your interviews. We could get it done real quick, and then we could go to the place we have to go to. You're making a weird noise.
Yeah. Okay. It hadn't occurred to me to ask for help on this. And Absco looks a little panicked about giving up this sort of control. And they're like, okay, here's how you can help. No. Okay, fine. You can help. Yes, this would be better. Yes. And so they pull out their data pad. They scroll through about, half a dozen names. Well, actually, no, more than a dozen names, 18 names. And they pass it off to
18?
Mordax.
And number 3.
Oh my gosh. And they pass another list off to Steph, and Absco looks over to Angus and be like, do you want to get in on this?
No, thank you.
Absco looks a little bit reassured, cool.
Yeah.
I can control these more.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, so I've just been running checks on them. Anything that pops up as interesting, noteworthy, I do a little bit further reconnaissance.
Okay. And immediately, Mordax and Silverblade are just going to start boop, 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 on the data pad, just digging into these names very excitedly.
Oh, here's the thing. What Absco finds interesting may not exactly be the same thing that Mordax finds interesting.
Oh, I know.
So what Mordax probably finds interesting are all these weird gaps in their histories, and you're flagging all these things. This person worked for 20 years as an electrical engineer at this company that sells cereal. What does that mean?
Also, probably way more interested in their personal life than Absco. Oh, they're married. Ooh, I wonder. And just all this much more personal information than actually there.
What would
So I have the feeling, Mordax, instead, like in the time Absco comes to check on your progress, you have an entire personal bio on one person. Nothing about the professional life, nothing about like just the basics, like, oh, they worked here, where they worked here. But did you know that they used to live on Castroville at this address right here, which is also the same address that the great entertainer blah 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 lived at, you know?
Oh yeah, I think Mordax probably takes her people watching very seriously.
And what about Eos? What
You know he eats peanut butter and marshmallow sandwiches?
I love
We can't trust a guy like that.
Sandwiches. Oh. Totally different.
What would Eos be doing as far as trying to do background checks?
Eos is looking at it maybe a little bit more like Absco, a little bit less like Mordax, rounding up anybody who may have connections to Abadar Corp, anyone who made some interesting job choices. You know, like maybe all of a sudden they go dark for a few years and then they come back with a bunch of new fun skill sets that don't really make a lot of sense or a paper trail for how they got there. You know, anything that may correlate to information we already have on Eve and 18. And I don't know if we have anything about like where they're located to cross-reference. That's kind of how she would go about it, maybe using like a filter in a search.
No, good work. I mean, you would go about it looking at their, like, with that military kind of precision. You're doing military paperwork. Sit down, open the database, type in the name, look them up. Okay, here's this. Here, we research that. I like that. I like the way you were thinking. You're looking for dark periods in their history, periods where there's no record. You actually find that to be a common enough story amongst your crew that a good number of them seem to have just gaps. Not huge gaps, but gaps.
Gaps that raise an eyebrow.
Yeah.
That's not promising.
You found this to be a good chunk of your crew seems to have some sort of, which isn't terribly surprising given where you're at and what you're doing.
Yeah. Right. I mean, to be fair, Eos would probably, if Absco hadn't reached out to get to know her, been flagged for that reason as well, because there's like a 4-month gap where it's not a consistent record there.
And you're used to seeing it. You see all the redacted files. As you begin digging deeper, you begin finding redacted files and you realize, okay, they've been doing, it's military work. Some of it obviously leads to they were mercenaries. Some of it is they were pirates that seem to have gotten into a bit of a tough spot and given an opportunity to not be hanged or space fished or whatever people do to them.
I don't have a kill to haul you on, so.
Yeah, people that were looking for a job and just happened to fall into it. Like, the cook is just like some dude who just owned a little restaurant and was given an opportunity to, his restaurant burned down. He was given an opportunity to come cook on the ship. Now you have a cook.
Not everybody can be like
super suspicious after George. Well, the tailor happens to be there.
I will point out Hercules Mulligan. Oh no, I nerded out too hard. Nobody knows Hamilton.
No, I
haven't actually gotten a chance to see Hamilton yet. No, you are just more cultured than us. That's true.
I am a theater nerd. Hercules Mulligan is a historical character. He was a tailor who was a spy for the Americans with the British by working on their uniforms. See, it makes way more sense than you thought. I knew what I was doing the whole time. Ha! Y'all get through and realize that while your crew is not exactly what you would have picked if you were a corporation, as a group of shady, sometimes do wells.
Morally flexible.
Yeah, you got a pretty... Yes. Well, I mean, you've basically become a mercenary group, I guess, would be the closest thing, but mercenary adventurers in space.
I feel like we're just trying to survive.
Right?
I feel like y'all are.
Little lost. Comfortably survive. But we don't know when a dragon could show up at any time and kill us, or Solomon could show up, and we don't know what Solomon's capable of. But it doesn't seem like it's really great if they could kill my whole crew, strand 4 on an asteroid, and then get them to murder the person that they used as a patsy. So, yeah. Just trying to survive.
And hope we're not following 18's breadcrumbs exactly where she wants us.
Yeah.
So I think Absco, while everyone else is finishing up a lot of the background checks, would actually go to the bridge and meet up with Aronson.
Hey, Aaron.
My engineer.
Hey, Aronson. Aronson snaps or realizes that you've approached Absco and gets up from the seat, from the ensign's chair, giving you the helm, snapping to attention.
Ensign, Eddie's. I have put a lot of weight on you and honestly a lot of trust. These have been some interesting days, and I wanted to let you know how much I appreciated it.
Just doing my duty.
Well, I have something for you. And Absco pulls out of his pocket one of the beads from one of the rosaries that it was in the rubble from the explosion. And they had tied it to a cord and said, just know that your role here is important. I know you work in engineering, and Mordax is lucky to have you there. I would appreciate you finding a suitable crew member to work up here with me.
Permission to hug you?
Denied?
Okay. Will do.
That's awesome.
Aronson turns around and marches back to the lift.
You were not dismissed. Wait.
No, I mean, Absco looks kind of like bewildered and like, together, man. Hold it together. Thank you. And like, they just turn around and walk off. Like, they're like, ooh.
All right. And then I'm assuming you're getting us underway to the coordinates since you're taking that were included.
I didn't know that we had decided on a direction.
We went through the information. They gave us coordinates. And while Mordax was having their conversation about we don't really know what's going on, Angus's thought process is really, if what we want to do is try to stay ahead of a 4,000-year-old android who apparently has beef with a triune of deity of androids who have become a god, we're not going to have much luck, but all we can really do is just keep moving forward as quickly as possible so that hopefully we can keep up with the new information that 18 is getting about us as we're going. And during the travel time, we can set up our plan for what we're going to do, but we need to get where we're going. That's my thought process. If anyone has a different opinion, now's the time to start voicing it and giving Angus some feedback. But that's kind of the way Angus is working right now, is just trying not to fall so far behind that we keep running into ambushes.
Yeah. So, I mean, Absco was attempting to plug all the holes as far as information leaks that could have been. I mean, given that directive, Absco is going to go up to comms and says, okay, Angus, we are ready to leave at your word.
Let's get underway. So how long does it take us to get there?
Give me your piloting check, Absco. Let's see what kind of piloting you do.
Ooh, a 12. I rolled a natural 1.
Oh.
There are no critical failures in Starfinder.
There are no failures.
Right?
Well, interesting. You should say that. Okay.
I was gonna say, wasn't there talk of BU considering adding them? Please don't remind them.
Allow me to ask, does Absco get advantage on piloting rolls because of bra? Let's use
Absco gets some help, but he's still like completely just stuck on all the other things he has to do. You look over everything, and as everything's ready and just as you're about to zip, you look and realize that the routes, it took you a different route than you wanted to go. And so you slap the other route like madly trying to get there. No, you end up taking the long way around. It takes you around the sun 3 times before you even headed to Abalon. And it's just that last moment where you can't do anything about it. Yep. So you will get to Abalon just fine. It's only going to take you 4 days. But it should have taken you like 2.
Are you even going to bother mentioning it? Because I'm not a pilot. I wouldn't know.
No. Absco's actually very distracted with all these disgusting emotions. They don't know what to deal with it, so they're like, yeah, course set, we're on our way.
4 days in hyperdrive. Anybody have anything in particular they wish to do during those 4 days?
Angus is going to call Mordax into his private quarters.
Oh, hey guys, look at the time. I think I need to go. Mordax will be very happy to oblige. Mordax will go.
So when you arrive, I will have made sure that whoever it is who takes care of the captain, whoever's assigned that duty, has just a light meal set up, something very casual, something very calm. Thank you for joining me, Mordax. Please have a seat and help yourself. And the seat is set up so that Mordax has like steps to get up so that it's at the right height so they don't feel like they're below Angus, but they don't have to climb. Very well staged so that it's very respectful of the differences between our species.
Mordax will go in and step up. Mordax is very aware that this conversation was coming, so Mordax is a little tentative. Did not bring Silverblade.
Oh, okay. Angus will sit down and just get a small plate of nibbles and something to drink and look Mordax right in the eye and say, I believe that between the two of us, there needs to be a conversation based on you yelling at me in front of the rest of the crew in a highly emotional situation. I want to keep this extremely civil, and I want to make sure that you and I leave here on the same page. Are you open to that?
I think that makes sense.
Wonderful. First off, I want to say that nothing you said was unjustified. Absolutely, the weight of responsibility is on me to make sure that we are kept safe, and I will continue to do my absolute best to make sure that happens. I will be having words with both Absco and EOS about taking our mediumly thought out plan and throwing it out the window when they sense danger. I've invited you here first and foremost so I can learn how it is that you came to be so alone and attached to your friend Silverblade based on the situation we are in. I feel like knowing that will really help us be able to communicate more effectively. Do you want to share that with me, or do you feel like that's too personal?
Oh, I don't mind sharing anything with you. I mean, part of the problem is that, I talk too much and I annoy people, and that's one of the reasons why Silverblade's my only. But, I mean, honestly, I don't really know if, my personal life history is really sort of the relevant thing here. I mean, it's honestly just that this situation that we're in, is sort of almost, military rank kind of situation is not something that I'm ever thought that I was ever going to be in. And I obviously let myself forget in that moment that you outrank me, I guess. It's all been really, really fast. And it just, I guess what it was is that I did trust you all a lot. I had this image in my head that you were all these, well-seasoned space adventurers. And if you all had a plan that we were going to go into this place, get this information, that it was going to go okay because you all do this. And that it turns out, because clearly you're not dead now, obviously. And then I think in that moment, it kind of hit me that, maybe you all got thrown into this a little bit too. And I just panicked and realized that I had put a lot of trust in you all, and that maybe we all probably should have had some conversations beforehand about plans and I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it any better than that. I think I thought that you were all gonna kind of make everything go okay, and then I realized that we all needed to be better at everything. And I don't know. I think it was just a moment of realizing that you all weren't, superheroes. Not that you're, you know what I mean? I don't know. I think I'm fumbling this a little bit.
It's okay. It's okay. So we've tried to be, at least Absco and I have tried to be as honest with you as possible, in that we have been thrown into this just as much as you. We have a few months more experience at it, but we are absolutely just feeling our way around. I feel like the reason you became overwhelmed.
I'm going to admit here that I think I kind of romanticized the situation a little bit. It was kind of like a TV show, where like it's kind of a perfect story. The street mouse gets picked up by the adventuring crew and just falls into this band of mayhem, but they save the day and it all works out. And I really realized when we were in that jail that this isn't some fun movie. This is actually real and dangerous. And I freaked out. And I'm going to be better about that. I'm going to take things seriously and not just assume everything's going to turn out all right.
I do not believe that it's you not taking things seriously. I believe that a big part of the problem was being separated from Silverblade, and I cannot guarantee that will not happen again. If I cannot guarantee that will not happen again, I need to know that you can hold it together so that we can get Silverblade back, and that we can count on you to help us with that.
Yeah, I had never expected that was a possibility, I think, is what I meant by taking it seriously.
Okay.
Okay.
And then what I'd really like is for just us to turn this into a more casual thing where, we don't even have to do it on here, but where Angus sort of probes at Mordax to get some of their backstory and find out how they wound up alone. Because my understanding of Isoki is that you have family everywhere. There are huge, huge family connections. And so Mordax not having that is something I would find very strange and interesting. So Angus would spend some time, but, give Mordax the space to open up about that over time.
I feel like, to wrap this up, I feel like once Mordax was sure that Angus was done captaining at her, that she would be totally fine with launching into the whole thing and way oversharing. It would just turn into this scene where Mordax is stuffing her face and talking about everything. And then I think at the end of it, you will come out with a very clear understanding of why Mordax was basically incredibly annoying, and she did have some family, they just didn't talk to her.
Oh, that's super sad. But yeah, okay. Yeah. So cool. I just wanted to make sure that conversation happened because that was something that was going to weigh on Angus a great deal.
And so, the ASS Roseate makes it to Abalon. This rocky, metallic world whips around the sun at incredible speeds. As you go to touch down, there's your Abalon map. From your elevation, it looks almost like circuit boards. It looks very mechanical, the way it's laid out. But it just sort of is in patches with big chunks of this world that is, you would think would be practically uninhabitable. You can see several ruins from other cities. The coordinates leave you outside of Striving, near the Unification Cathedral and Theology Channel. And so where would you like to set down? Which Abalonian megaplex? Automatrix is their manufacturing facility. Striving is that's where the Church of Triune's headquarters are. And Pursuit is its own little place.
I think it makes the most sense to go...
Pursuit is the smallest of the megaplexes.
For Striving, because it has the Theology Channel and the Unification Cathedral right there. And if all of the information we're getting is from religious text, that seems like the most logical place to go.
You set down in Striving near the Unification Cathedral.
Everyone else has an opinion. That was just Kelrix.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
the captain spoke. No. It happened.
That was my thoughts as well.
No. That was Kelrick talking. Does anyone have opinion? I'm just saying. This is just thinking here. So, anyone else have an opinion?
Absco was going to call for a physical sciences check from someone.
I can certainly do it.
Great.
I've got lots of all the sciences.
Okay. Ooh.
25.
Well, Mordax got a 25.
Nice.
Yeah, 25
and
from
I got
Mordax.
a 20.
All right. Most of Avalon is a dull world of iron and rock. There are no oceans on the surface of Avalon. Frozen water does exist, being mostly confined to the half-frozen jungles of the ice wells, unique regions within deep impact craters scattered across the surface. A layer of thick rock covers Avalon, beneath which immense deposits of iron and lead make up most of the planet's internal structure. There really is no atmosphere to speak of, but there is plenty of life support in the mechanical, interconnected settlements the size of nations, which are now known as megaplexes, and especially in the Theology Channel, where every religion in the entire universe that you could think of is practiced here, with no rite or ritual being too taboo, because they wish to study all of the different religious rites in the universe.
All right.
And so they definitely cater to off-worlders in the Theology Channel.
I would like to make sure that Mordax has sunglasses that can turn into blinders when they become uncomfortable. Some of those religious things could be weird. Who knows? I'm just looking out for you.
Pretty much guess that at least some of them are.
Just the look. Unfortunately, nobody could see the look, but Britt's face was like, what are you saying? Why would you say? Oh.
I love that this Mordax is tiny and is a mouse. Absolutely. But Mordax also spent her entire life on the seediest portion of Absalon Station. Mordax has seen some shit. She just has a disposition that's just,
It's the disposition that throws Angus off. It's not, I had
I love it. I think it's wonderful.
Teacher. So that, the Yosoki part is nothing to me. The innocence with which Mordax is portrayed is what's like, let's just keep that alive as long as possible.
I think that Mordax is like painfully optimistic in a way that she just shoves a lot of that that bad stuff. Just no.
Okay, good to know.
As you settle down onto your landing pad and you get your first glance outside, you see mechanical beings hovering, flying, scritching everywhere, just skittering around the port. Where you landed, you also see a number of organic beings, many in various robes or various religious garments. And comms gets a hold of you, Angus, and Captain,
Yes.
we have an incoming communication. I think you'll want to take this.
Put it through.
You might want to take it somewhere other than the bridge, Captain.
I'll head to my ready room, but as I do, since we're landed, I will motion for Absco to join me since they're on the bridge.
Okay.
And that'll just have to do since I'm assuming Eos and Mordax are at their proper stations.
Okay. As you head into your ready room and go over to your computer, you hit the button to turn on your monitor, and it shows incoming call ID Solomon. And that is where we end for today.
Oh.
Well,
So,
at least
for
it's the
experience
correct people.
points,
Ugh.
for experience points, I am your host and GM, Miyu. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter at Miyu Plays Games.
I'm Kelrick. You can find me at EQ Points and at Cormelon, wishing I could make my DM be nicer to me.
I'm Britt, and you can find me at Atomic Firebird. And it's okay, Mordax will just push any of this bad information aside.
I am Kenny. You can find me on Twitter at Punderdrone, and hopefully they can start dealing with some of these emotions.
I'm Steph, and you can find me at Luna Starwind on Twitter. I don't have a catchy exit on this one, unfortunately.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.